everybody, we haven't moved. The elephant has turned to face us slightly. If he takes another step forward, I am going to just reverse to give him the chance to move past us unhindered. I don't think that this was going to be his original pathway. I think his original pathway was going to be back towards where he's going now. But I just want to give him a way, A, to get to the lions, and B, to get away from us if he wants to. There we go. Not sure if he can get down there towards the lions. While he's there, I'm going to just reverse 2 meters. Ooh, there we go. He just kicked off a whole heap of sand onto that hapless dead warthog. Unbelievable, this. Unbelievable. I'm just going to reverse slightly so I can give him a chance. If he wants to get at the lions, he must have that ability. He mustn't be afraid of where we are. We might get a better view of everything from slightly further back. Oh, there we go. Is that all good to you then? It's not ideal. We're a little bit further back. I think we're going to miss out here. Anyway, I'm going to stop here. Now what I've done is I've opened up the path that he was kind of walking on. Just see if he wants to come down towards the lions. Now that's not because I think he should have a go at the lions, it's just because I don't think that we should be getting in the way of anything that might happen. We want to have as little effect as possible. That very pale blonde lioness is now deeply bored by the fact that the royalty is in. You might hear him going, whoa, that's his hair going. We'll just sit here for a little while, everybody. I know it's not the best view in the world. Can you see him at all, Viam? Yeah. Right, we haven't moved from here, everybody, and the lions haven't moved from here either. I must just apologize for the lack of stream. I'm afraid there's nothing we could have done about that. It's some kind of satellite glitch in Europe owing to bad weather, apparently. Anyway, sorry about that. But here we are, still with these wonderful lionesses. And, well, I don't know, the male's gone to sleep under a bush somewhere. The blondie with the amber eyes is still having a very nice eat. And the bobcat, as VM likes to call her, that's the tailless female, she's just lying next to her mate, and every time she kind of looks like she might wake up, she the fat blondie goes, oh. Anyway, I think we're going to sit here another few minutes and then we're going to pull out and we'll go and see what else we can see around Arathusa. For those of you who do keep tabs on the rest of the leopards and lions of this area, apparently the Anderson male is mating with someone called Moyo, I don't know who that is, on Simbambili. And there are wild dogs on Shirley's, which are to the south of us. So there's lots of activity going on around here. We can't go to either of those properties, I'm afraid. But that's okay. We've had a wonderful time here today. There's the male. Lisa in North Carolina, good question about sort of lion dominance. And you say if an older, more dominant lion came in here, would they fight him for it or would they just leave him, would they leave? No, they won't take the risk of fighting with him. They might give a kind of perfunctory growl. The young male might think about, at least, no, not the young male, the oldest female might think about making a stand. And if he didn't look like he was going to follow through on any serious attack, well, then she might kind of, they might try and share it with him. But, a small kill like this, if a big male lion came in here, most likely pick it up and disappear. And if these guys came anywhere near him, he'd give them a solid beating. So, no, highly unlikely that they would get any meat at all were a big dominant male lion to come into this area. That said, I don't know where the Matimba males went. They were in this area yesterday. They obviously killed that buffalo that was around here. I don't know where they've gone or why they left, but they're not here, and so, they're obviously not feeding that dominant at the moment. So maybe these guys would, give those males what for. It's unlikely, though. Alrighty, I think we're going to pull out of here. Let's go and see what else we can find. We've had an unbelievable sighting of these lions today. Twice. And twice with the same elephant. So I'm just going to go forward, turn around, we'll have one more look, and then we'll go and see what else we can find. I just don't want to really be here after it's dark. The sun is about to set. You can see it there, just sort of setting through the trees. And it's not a question of there being anything wrong with being here after dark. I just think that they've given us such a great time during the day that there's no real point in shining a bright white light on them if we don't have to. Let's watch out there. Ease my way around. Oh, I can see the tracks of the warthog there, and where he was obviously set upon by the lions. You can see he came down to drink, wandered through there. Obviously the lions were just through here and they nailed him. Poor little fellow. Didn't live to tell the day. This is where we went yesterday, Viam. Should we go out that way? This would be quite exciting. See if we can do it again. In this car, we might get stuck. That was on Wendy. Alright, well, while we get out of here, we may be stuck. Let's go across to Brent. He's back on the car. He's been tracking something. Let's find out if he found it.
So we're still on female leopard tracks at the moment, and they sort of head northwest. towards Impala Plains. I've got a sneaky suspicion it could be shadow. And I think we're going to head towards our repeater. Now, our repeater sits on top of this crest over here and sends the wonderful signal out towards you. And also, being on nice high ground, might get a nice view of the African sunset. And she might be zigzagging, hunting through here, so she could pop out into the road. So I'm definitely quite excited about these tracks. They're definitely the best tracks I've seen today. So she went in almost towards the sun, or what I'm guessing from the last track I had, somewhere between us and that gorgeous sunset. It's amazing how quickly you can feel the temperature drop now as that sun disappears. Nearly time to get the jackets out. So, hi Aaron, who's in New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud. Aaron is saying, apart from the obvious lion and leopard, what are some of the things that the killer bees might like to find? Well, I can definitely say I think cheetah's always up there for us. It's also a bit obvious though.
Honey badger.
Wow, honey badger from Brian, wild dog, pangolin, serval, caracal, genets, any of the smaller, more interesting little mammals. I think like the real coup de grace would be an African weasel, or not a striped polecat, they're slightly bigger, but an African weasel. They do occur here. They're tiny. Probably the second smallest carnivore after a dwarf mongoose. Nocturnal and very rarely seen. Here. So we're just going to jump back on board with Commander Bondwe while we restart our signal machine.
Righty, we're still here. We've just managed to get out of the drainage line now. I'm just trying to get into a position where we can see the vultures in the sunset. VM loves to film the sunset, don't you, VM? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I do apologize. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, VM?
No.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can.
Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, well.
Oh, good. There we are. That's the picture I wanted. It's not great. I'm going to show it to you anyway. I was hoping to get those vultures silhouetted perfectly in the setting sun, but there's a bushel in the way. That's not bad though, is it? It's pretty good. Pretty good. Just have a listen to what's going on around us, everyone. Couple of doves. Otherwise it's pretty silent. And a few red-faced mouse birds in the background going toot 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 toot. Very nice. Very pretty, VM. Well done. I know that's not a leopard or any kind of cat eating something, but it was very pretty. There may have been a leopard silhouetted there. Now, just to give you an idea, everybody, just through there is one of the Arathusa, what they call luxury suites. Now, we are no more than, I don't know, about 200 meters, no, 100 meters from where that kill was. So You know, if you come to these lodges, you really are right in the thick of things. It's not like you are away from the action when you're in your room. You're right there. All right, Brent has managed to reboot his pack. Let's find out again what he's been doing.
So, all sorted, and we're going to go now check where I think this female leopard might come out. It could be anywhere from here. Luckily, nice soft sand to check for tracks. Oh, the elephants decided to kick a big dead stump onto the road, and I shall remove it rather than drive around it. Quite a solid piece of wood we've got here. Oh, maybe we can find a scorpion. Nope. No scorpions today. Now it's funny, I always find funny how elephants now, that no reason from a food point of view, I mean that elephant was just having fun, dragged a dead log onto the road. So quite a few people will have realized that tomorrow morning, oh, hello, it's an animal. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. And there we have a lovely zebra. I just mentioned to Brian a bit earlier, I haven't seen any zebras or anything so far this evening, so nice to catch up with the zebra. James Dungan is wondering about tomorrow morning, because we are going to be out very early. For us, it's going to be out in the dark. James is going to be sitting next to a fire. And it's going to be quite interesting to see what's out and about at that time. But James is wondering what format. As far as I realize, I think it'll be on all the normal platforms. I think if I'm saying anything that is live, Final Control will tell me. So wherever you normally watch the live drives, it should be present. So whether you watch off Ustream, YouTube, Wild Earth, Nat.Geo, Wild, you should be able to get us. Oh, there's a snort somewhere. That sounds like a wildebeest to you guys. I don't think there's a wildebeest snorting around here. But what is it snorting at? Question. Nothing that seems to worry the zebra too much. Now I can only see one zebra and I can't really hear any others munching away. Likely it's a young male, I can't really see yet, but just gauging from the thickness of its neck and the fact that it's all alone. Okay, Mr. Zebra, if you see shadow come past, give us an alarm call. I'm just going to go check towards our repeater now. But if she does choose to walk this way, we know we've got this young boy keeping a lookout. Hi, Nisa in North Carolina. Nisa is wondering, is it more common for male leopard cubs to be slightly more adventurous than females? Saying just the last time they were watching, I think it was with James, the male came down the tree and started feeding while the female stayed with the mom. Well, Nisa, it depends on the individual leopard. Strangely enough, quite often the female cubs seem to be more relaxed than the males, but it all just depends on the individual. So I don't think there's any hard and fast rule about which one is supposed to be the most relaxed. Well, it'd be full of joy if we happen to find any form of leopard at the moment. So strangely enough, Shadow likes to use this road. Now, it's not a road we use often. Just wanted to have a quick look for tracks on it. And this is I suppose we could call it Eugene and Connors Road. But ooh, look at that. There's a beautiful big Ellie bull. Oh, he's not looking too relaxed though. He's moving away. Just try to go a little bit further forward. It's okay, big boy. You can see his tail's not great. He might calm down a little bit if we sit for a while. As you can see above him is the Gari repeater. Now, that is what is currently sending you this glorious picture to wherever you might be in the world. Sounds like there could be a few more elephants around, but let's just try to get a bit of view of this guy. Just going to go very slowly. No, he's off. He doesn't like cars, that one. But I've come down here to check for tracks of leopard. And I've found tracks here quite a few times. There he is. It's okay, mister. Seems like there's quite a few more elephants. This is not the big one who was disappearing. This is another young bull. And Brian and I have not seen an elephant female today. We've only seen elephant bulls. Hey, big boy. Now he's a lot more relaxed. I really hope we're going to get to see that monster tusker again one of these days. I only saw him once. Oh, he's nice and chilled. We can move forward a bit. I didn't want to move too much if it was that boy who wasn't too relaxed. Hey, what's happening? And you can see he's early must. Now, of course, not the best animal to see when you are trying to find leopard tracks for multiple reasons. Firstly, they'll chase the leopard away. Secondly, those big feet obliterate tracks. I mean, he's probably late 20s. Maybe, yeah, late 20s. Hey, mister. I just want to sneak up ahead. It looks like there's actually a bigger bull. While we do that, James has got a bull of a different kind.
A Nyala bull, everybody, is a very different kind, my favourite antelope. And look at his magnificence. You can see why he's my favourite. His beautiful chestnut legs, a throwback to his youth. And then his charcoal fluffy coat, even fluffier for the winter. His magnificent spiralled horns and the spots that he has dotted about his body, which I suppose make him slightly disguised, like dappled light flowing through the vegetation that we saw just now where those lions were. The sun has just set finally over the western horizon, and so the temperature has dropped markedly immediately. And I always find it so amazing how we hardly have a twilight here at all. You can just actually see the darkness of the night sort of creeping up over the eastern horizon. That's the southern horizon, but it's close enough. You can see that darkness, indigo color coming up. And it always amazes me how quickly it envelops us. Of course, in the northern hemisphere and at higher latitudes, so if we could go any further south in South Africa, well, Cape Town, I suppose, it works the same. You have a long twilight once the sun sets, but here it tends to go dark sort of within 25 minutes after the sun setting. Let's carry on. We'll get one more view of these nyalas. Just driving very slowly towards them. Don't want them to get a fright and run away. So, the most vicious antelope fight I ever saw was between two Nyala bulls, much the same size as the one on the right-hand side of your picture there. In the middle of, there are three here, but that one that you're looking at now in the middle of the boy on the left-hand side of the picture is a younger one and wouldn't sort of engage in a fight with the bigger chap. But at this time of the year, they finished their rut. All the females that are going to be pregnant before the lambing season are pregnant, or calving season, and the rest of them, well, they'll go one season without. And the bulls are now friends again. And so they'll settle into these little bachelor groups of 3 or 4 or sometimes 5, and they'll be probably quite close to a little group of females somewhere around here. But otherwise, they'll just enjoy each other's own company. But when the testosterone starts to course through their veins, the level of disgust, hate and aggression they show to each other is quite profound. Have you ever seen a more magnificent herbivore than that, Viam? Is this
a bongo?
A bongo? Well, a bongo is pretty close, isn't it? I'll show you a picture of a bongo. I knew that Viam would have some smart aleck one-liner to give us. And now, thankfully, I have a book. I can show you what a bongo looks like. Close relative, of course, of that one. Stay there. I don't have him yet. Spiraled horn bovines. Here we go. 2, 3, 6. Check out all these ones. So the ones that we get, of course, we get the Nyala. That's the obvious one. Then we don't get the lesser kudu, we get the greater kudu. The lesser kudu is just a slightly smaller kudu than we get. Now these are all spiral-horned antelope. There's a mountain Nyala. He actually looks even more magnificent. I didn't know he existed until this very moment. He lives in Ethiopia. And then we have the greater kudu, we know him very well. And then the bushbuck, which we know, and there, everybody, is a bongo. They are magnificent things, and they live in the rainforests of Central Africa in the Congo Basin. Isn't that amazing? And then, of course, this thing here called the Thitatunga. Can you say that, Viam? Thitatunga, yes, Thitatunga. And they are found in the Okavango Delta and in the forests. And they have got an amazing set of feet. The cloves of their hooves are splayed like that. It looks like 2 fingers have been placed on the ground where they walk. It's quite astonishing. And then the last of the spiral-horned antelopes, everybody, in this lecture on spiral-horned antelopes is the eland. That is the giant eland found in various parts of Central Africa where you wouldn't go unless somebody paid you quite a lot of money, given the, well, it's quite dangerous really. And that's it. Many, many spiral-horned antelopes, and they're all rather magnificent. I think the mountain Nyala is now my new favourite, and I shall go and see him in Ethiopia soon. On we go, Viam. Oh, Brent has managed to find a sunset shot. Oh, I can see what he's looking at. Let's go and have a look.
So not only are we just sitting here and looking at this exquisite line of what looks to be cirrus clouds in the sky with the sun set, well, the sun's already set, but it's the time of the day when the predators are going to be on the move. So I'm just having a little listen for alarm calls while enjoying quite a spectacular view. You see the Drakensberg Mountains. There's still some Franklins calling, but we're about to go into that sort of crossover between night and day, where there's almost this eerie silence that stills the bush. Now, incoming, Brian. How brave are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Brian's feeling good. I'm going to keep a lookout, but there's some little free-tailed bats. Oh, it's a tiny... You got it, Brian's got it. Oh! It is a tiny little, one of the free-tailed bats. Very, very difficult to identify them when they're at that distance and moving at that speed. But one of the little insectivorous bat species. Incredibly fast flyers. Oh! Well done, Brian. I'm listening to a bunch of what sounds like little blue wax balls. And I thought for a moment they might be alarm calling, but they're not. And that brings in an interesting question from Ashley in the UK. Ashley's wondering, do even garden birds alarm call? She says she thinks sometimes the birds in her garden are alarm calling. Most definitely, Ashley. And in a suburban setting, they're normally going to be alarm calling at the domestic cat, Felis sylvestris, and possibly even, maybe not badgers, foxes in your part of the world. And I think most of the alarm calls will definitely be for your local neighborhood domestic cats, and they definitely pose the biggest threat to them. Fortunately, speaking of alarm calls, we haven't heard any. And I think we're going to make our way towards Sandy Patch, see if we can find my favorite pair of canids that are currently residing on Djuma, that lovely pair of side-striped jackal. Hopefully they're going to get moving and foraging shortly. So, I've got to stop saying so is one of the things. So if you count how many times I say so, let me know. I'm going to practice not to say so we're going to do this. But anyway, Aaron, I'm really annoyed with myself because I have not succeeded in it this sunset safari. Aaron, sorry, in Florida. Now I've completely lost my train of thought. Aaron in Florida wanted to know bushfires, yes. Whether bushfires are a problem in the dry season, and they are under normal circumstances. This year, however, in this area, there's very, very little threat of bushfire, even though it's a drought, and that's because there's no grass to burn. So the fire will struggle to get going. What was that? It was a very, very annoying patch of grass that in the light decided to take on the guise of a leopard. We'll keep moving. Getting quite nippy. So as I was saying, during normal dry seasons, it is a problem, and we are conscious of it. This year, there's just not enough grass to burn. So there's in this area this year, we're not going to get any fires, I think. And even if a fire is started, it'll peter out really, really quickly. I'm not the only one who's excited to look for jackals. James Richard is also. He said, yes, let's go find some jackals. So I've seen them from this clearing here all the way through to Sydney's waterhole. Good spot to start checking. And of course, this is quite a common territorial march for both Karula and Shadow. This is the boundary between their territories. Now we continue to search along the boundary of Shadow and Karula's territories. And let's go see a large pachyderm with James.
I'm not a large pachyderm, everybody. I'm not even a small pachyderm, but let's go ahead. There are a couple in here. There was a young one over there. He wasn't very large either, but at least he was a pachyderm, and he was shouting at us, very cross. He's a little fellow. There he is. Oh, shame, he's a little bit nervous. Let's just stop here and let him get comfortable.
Plan is what we have done here. So our spotlight. I'm just gonna try to balance one light on the jackal. Or I'll try to use the other light to see if there's anything. Oh. Ah, there we go. I can hear Impala horns locking. So it's not what we thought it was. It's Impala males fighting. And head down. Now, Brian and I actually saw one of these jackal get killed by a leopard over a year ago now. Wow. A long time ago. Just below Quarantine. You see them there? Behind those impala that are going really at it. Just behind the jackal. Wow, this is quite a serious fight. He's running a flat there. It's quite an impressive. Oh, off they go into the bush. Our beard says, what a cute doggy. Well, they are related to doggies, but not doggies at all. Dogs are pack animals. Jackals prefer to live in pairs. Sorry, I'm just listening. Just trying to figure out what that snorting from the impala means. Trying to watch the other impalas. They don't normally snort like that during the rutting. They normally have that afterwards. Might be worth our while just going to go have a look around the corner there. So, Aaron in New Zealand decided to stand up. Oh, stretch the back. And back to sleep. Well, anyway, that was beautiful while it did stretch its back. So Aaron was wondering why side-striped jackals are more omnivorous than the other jackal species. And it's because they fill an ecological niche. So they don't have to compete with black-backed jackal or golden jackal. And they live in an area where there's not as much sort of carrion and meat-based food available. And now that's further north in their range in the Miombo woodlands of Central Africa. That's where all the snorting and whatnot and cavorting was coming from. You got to be very careful with impala snorting at this time of the year. And quite often, it's nothing more than the boys showing off. And I think that's what it was. Nothing more than the boys showing off, unfortunately. I caught myself there before I said it. D says, I can't believe that's impala we can hear. It's so unusual. For most of the year, you're absolutely correct. Very, very unusual. But over the rutting season, the mating season, that is probably the most common noise you hear out in the bush. Constant chasing each other up and down and around. I'm trying to figure out which one. I want to swap those around then, I think. Oh, not quite the normal plethora of lights you get on our normal vehicles here. We're going to do a quick loop around this northwestern corner, and while we do that, let's go see what Jamesy's up to.
James is trying to get his spotlight out, and he has retrieved it. You see anything, Liam?
Yes.
What?
You.
Oh. Bat. Don't worry, we won't try and film the bat, everyone. We are on the southern boundary. The reason we seem to be driving through a cloud is that we are driving through a cloud of dust set up by 7 vehicles that went skedaddling along this road at a great speed. Not sure where they're going. Must be to either Cheetah Plains or Nkoro. But they weren't game drive cars. So we're just going to ease our way along here, and the reason we're easing our way along here was hoping perhaps to see a sighting of Karula coming back towards Djuma, which is to the left-hand side of your screen. But given that a greater number of cars have passed down this road than the ring road during rush hour in London, I think the chances of seeing her tracks are, well, negligible at best. So we'll turn up Twin Dams Road, have a look at the progress of the excavations there, and then we'll move up towards the centre of the reserve and see if maybe Tingana hasn't popped across to patrol his territory. There are some terrified looking impala. Now remember, we had that discussion earlier on about whether antelope get stunned by lights. They do, and so I've killed the lights. They just look a little bit like they might be alarmed by something other than us, so let's just stop and listen. Hello? Have you seen anything with claws and teeth? No. Not. Just listen to their footfalls, soft hoof falls through the dry leaf litter. And the last Franklin's calling in the distance. Who'd be an impala at this time of the day? I tell you what, every night they must be in a constant state of abject terror. Are you glad you're not an impala, Liam?
Yes.
Valerie, the other day we had a question. I think I didn't make myself clear. The other day we had a question about whether or not an animal would go back to it. Somebody had heard a legend that if a mammal or some kind of animal was to smell human being on their baby, they would reject it and it would die. And I said I didn't think that was necessarily true. It might be possible for some animals. And then I said it is definitely, I've heard that with birds, if you touch a bird's nest or an egg or a chick, then the parents will abandon the chick or the egg. And I said I don't think that that's true, because there are plenty of examples where certainly bird conservationists will go into a nest and retrieve one of the babies that would be rejected anyway. So perhaps a black eagle chick or a ground hornbill chick. And so, Valerie, just to clear it up, I don't think that birds do that by default at all. I think it's kind of been told to kids to make them stop robbing nests. That said, are there any animals that would reject their youngsters on the basis of a human scent? I don't know for sure, Valerie. I think it's possible, but not always. What? A track. Liam spotted a track. Oh, there we go. I see what you see. Hyena? Lion? It's hyena. Liam is a genius tracker, of course. I believe him completely. Right, well, here is Twin Mines. Good grief. We don't want to fall in there, do we, Liam? Right, well, it's a fairly large excavation. This Twin Dams is going to hold a very large pod of hippo, or a hell of a lot of dust, depending on whether we have a wet season or not. You could easily put a whale in there. You could find enough salt. So Valerie, I'm going to say no. I don't think that there are any animals that will by default, leave their babies if they smell of human being. Right, we're on Twin Dams now. I'm just quickly going to turn the radio up so I can hear what's going on. Let's just have a quick look, VMP, if you don't mind, while we have this camera with its super zoom. Can we have a look at the moon? Super zoom it. The waxing moon, everybody. Oh, look at that. It's so amazing. Look at that. You can see the craters. And it's a little bit shaky because we're at full zoom, and I'm now sitting very still, trying not to breathe. Because if we move around, then the picture jumps around. So that's the waxing moon. Very pretty. Wonderful time of the day, this. Right, Vimpy. On we go. Oh, hang on a second. I need to clear something up. The other day, I'm going to go into a clearing here quickly before I clear it up. I got all tongue-tied trying to explain about the movement of the Earth and the Moon. And Judy H. said, no, the Moon doesn't actually turn, and then I agreed with her, and now I have to disagree with her again. So I'm just going to go with this discussion again. So while Viam shows you the Moon, I'm going to get myself into a position to show you what I mean. So there, obviously, is the moon. VMP, do you have a torch with you?
Yes.
Can you give it to me, please? VM is just going to get the torch. Right. Now, the moon, of course, we know has a 28-day cycle. We also know that we only see one side of the moon. We do not see the back end of the moon there. That's where all the googlies live. Now, for that to happen, the moon has to have an orbit around its own axis of 28 days, in the same way that we have an, or in fact I'm going to use I don't need the torch, I'll use the vehicle light. In the same way that the moon moves around the Earth in 28 days, so it spins on its own axis in 28 days. And I'll show you why that is essential. If we are seeing the same side of the moon all the time, this is what must happen, okay? Let's pretend that that light shining on my face, okay, is our eyes. The front of the vehicle is our eyes looking towards the moon, and I'm the moon. If you are only going to see this side of my face, right, as you are now, and I've come 90 degrees around now, can you see how I've turned? If I had not spun on my own axis, this is what would have happened. I'd be facing this way. And by the time I got round here, you would see the dark side of the moon, aka my bubble bottom. You see what I mean? So by the time the moon goes all the way around the Earth, it must have turned on its own axis. So it turns on its own axis in 28 days in the same way that it goes around the Earth in 28 days. I got so tongue-tied and so confused trying to explain that the other day, I had to confirm it all again to myself, and now I'm satisfied that I have it correct. Viam, are you satisfied that I have it correct?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
You weren't listening, I see. Right, well, you won't get any supper tonight. Okay, let me plug back in. What a relief. On we go. Sorry, I wasn't listening, he says. Yes? Oh, switch on the main lights. Yes, of course, I'll switch them on. There was a dark hole in front of the car. Thank you, Viam. See what we can find as we go into the drainage line. This is the lowest point on Djuma, which means it's the coldest point on Djuma. Diker through there, sorry. Thought it might be something nocturnal. It won't. So much like the impala and the kudu and the nyala and all of those sorts of animals will become stunned by the light, so will the diker, so we avoid shining on him. Now, while I'm driving along, I know Brent mentioned this, but I'm just going to mention it again. Tomorrow morning, we have a very early start. We're going to be doing a special broadcast for Hayden Turner to the Taronga Zoo and the Dubu Zoo in Australia, and we're going to be talking to them during their lunchtime. Now their lunchtime for us, Gulp, is at 04:30 our time, so goodness knows what time of the night that is going to be in the United States, but it will be at a time that's actually probably more convenient for many of you to watch. It'll be probably around about 9 o'clock in the evening or 10 o'clock. Whoa, pearl-spotted owl. It's not a pearl-spotted owl, it's a barred owl. Look at that. I know the tree's in the way, everyone, but I'm not going to move. That is fantastic. It's the same size as a pearl-spotted owl, maybe slightly bigger. Wow. Isn't that fantastic? It's only about, what should we say, about maybe 8 inches tall? Maybe 6 inches tall, actually. A tiny little bird. And look, you can even see it's what we call zygodactyl feet. 2 claws to the back, 2 claws to the front. Look at that. So most birds are or passerine birds are 3 front and 1 back. I'll tell you what I'll try and do. Let me just push the clutch in and see if we don't go back a little. No. I'm not going to start the engine, let's just enjoy the sighting. Isn't that lovely? He nearly flew straight into the car. And I'd have catched him. Oh, didn't like that.
I'll catch you.
And catch me, yes. They always look so cross. Fantastic. Fantastic sighting. You don't see these things often, I must say. I'm just quickly going to open up his page on my bird app. Liam, what's that grinding noise from the back of the car?
Probably something catching fire.
Okay, well, as long as it's nothing serious. Let me just quickly find him for you. And I want to just check what he eats, because I'm pretty sure I've got it right. Yes, it's rodents, largely. And I'm also going to play his call for you, because it's such a nice call. Right, are you listening, everybody? Here he goes. I'm not going to play more than that. Oh, he's still there, because I don't want him to be affected by it. But anyway, that's what he is. He eats largely rodents and that sort of thing. Isn't that amazing? Tiny little owl, only about that big. Fantastic. Yay! Sally in Oregon. I nearly called you Sarrigan by mistake. I got your name and your town into one word. Sally in Oregon, you say number 79 for your bird list. Brilliant. And your personal favourite. He's a good one to have as a favourite, I think. Some magnificent yellow eyes. Lovely voice he's got. Right, let's head across to Brent and get an update from him. I'm going to continue up Twin Dams.
Hello again. Brian and I have decided to meander towards the Gallagher Pan at the hope that something extra special has popped in for a little drink. And at the moment you'll notice I'm so beautifully lit, and that's because Brian's long arm is holding a torch. Here we go. So Brian's testing his arm strength so you can see my face. I'm trying not to drive off the road. So as you get so used to having all those lights, and I feel like I'm driving in the dark almost. We good? Cecilia says my sows are coming in a little slower, but I'm up to 793. Cecilia, I think you're lying. I think maybe 63, but 793? That's a lot of sows. We're about to arrive at the pan. What is out here? Could there be a buffalo? An inyala? Brian thinks there's going to be a leopard drinking. I hope Brian is right. There's a buffalo and an elephant. And we're not going to shine the light on them too long. Unfortunately, no. The elephant's disappearing there, and the buffalo is just arriving. Unfortunately, no leopard. Okay, so we're going to check towards the other pan.
Yeah, the guy around here. Look at this side. I'll check this one here.
Oh, it's chilly at the bottom of these little river systems at the moment. Brian was saying he needs to cut a branch. So every time I say so, he's just going to hit me on the back of the head. I nearly did it again. Well, when I first sort of started this presenting malarkey, I used to all the time. And I managed to beat the so we will beat the so as well. I think the are more difficult to beat than the so. Ah, see, the reason I have 793 sows is because Cecilia is counting in dog years. So that probably means I've had 9. So nothing in the bottom of that little river system, but James has a nocturnal bird to show you.
Come back. You just caught an insect. There, everybody, is a very beautiful piece of road that unfortunately had a fiery-necked nightjar in it. And what was so nice about the sighting, which you're now not going to see, was that the fiery-necked nightjar, when it turned its head, it had bright red on the back of the neck. And I've never realized why it was called fiery-necked before this very moment. Oh well, there it is. Let's carry on. We did see a kill, yes, it ate an insect and then flew off. I think it heard Kirsten saying you're live and it decided it didn't really want to be part of that, so it departed. Yes, and at least we have the owl, I suppose. That's a good point. Not too cold just yet, and I'm amazed. We've had a very mild winter, but I did read today that there's a cold front lashing the Cape at the moment. The Cape is normally lashed by some form of foul weather, but today a vicious cold front coming through, which will probably reach us by the end of tomorrow. We'll probably just get the tail end of it. It might get a little bit cloudy here, but I don't think it's going to rain. A bush baby in here. I just saw it jump. There it is. Oh, you can't see it, can you, Vim? It's just in there. That's it. There he is. Little bush baby. I'm going to, hang on a second, turn this light. There we go. So go back a bit.
Try.
You try and go back a bit. It's just so nice with the super zoom camera, everybody. There we go. I'll put some more light on him. There we go. Beautiful. I think that's another one calling. You hear that, Vim?
I do.
I think that's another one calling. They're normally silent. In fact, I've so seldom heard that noise. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and I think it's alarm calling at something. Yeah, I think that's a bush baby alarm call, and I think that's why this one's looking that way and it's not moving. Let me just, we're going to go forward, just see if we can't see what it's shouting at. It was just calling inside here somewhere, I think. There. I can actually see it. But you're not going to see it. It's too far away. I can just see it's there. There, you can just see the light there. You see his eyes? That's what's alarm calling. I don't know what he's shouting at. Let's go a little bit further forward. Maybe we'll find a leopard lying on the ground below. Could easily be a genet or a civet or a snake. But I don't see anything in here now. So one more little listen. Look up the road. But I can't hear anything. That's why I can't see anything I can hear. You hear it going? Anyway, nice way to end our drive. Right, remember tomorrow, everybody, 04:30 beginning till 07:30, whereupon we'll all go back to bed. Thank you, Viam, for your efforts today. Brent says a fond farewell to you. He is with Brian, of course, on the Mahindra, and from the final control. Oh yes, and from the final control, Kirsten says goodbye, as does Chelsea and Jerry. And of course, tomorrow we have a new cameraman with us, Mr. Gert, a very substantial fellow from Hoedspruit. A big thanks to all of you for your questions and comments. We'll see you in the morning at 04:30. Bye-bye.